We are here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's December 6th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, filling in for Shin Yeon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio today is Park Ki-hoon.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. And it's her second time here in News Gen as part of the panel. It's Kwon Ju-yeon.
It's a third time, in fact.
Oh, sorry, it's the third time.
Wow.
Welcome back.
Happy Hump Day.
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. Now, as usual, let's start by looking at our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. We start in China, where fears are mounting over surging respiratory illnesses and cluster infections of pneumonia. One Chinese newspaper, citing social media posts, reported that local governments in Sichuan and Guangdong had brought back the disease tracking app that was used during Beijing's zero COVID era. Now, the app gives users color-coded designations based on their PCR test results, vaccination status, and travel history. It also comes with a QR code that users need to scan whenever they enter a public venue. Now, back here in Korea, with the remaining 4 BTS members reportedly starting their mandatory military service next week, their management agency has asked fans to refrain from visiting their enlistment sites for safety reasons. Big Hit Music said on Tuesday that there will be no official events to send the members off at their respective military training centers. Now, last week, multiple media outlets citing industry insiders reported that members RM and V will be enlisted on December 11th, followed by Jimin and Jungkook the next day. The Korean government approved the enforcement decree to amend the act on the management of zoos and aquariums in Tuesday's cabinet meeting. Now, zoos and aquariums now need permission to operate instead of just registering. So to get the permission, they must have certified vets as well as zookeepers, a specific number of animals, and venue size. Seoul's Environment Ministry will also conduct regular on-site inspections, checking how they're managed and ensuring good animal welfare. Now, so this amendment is set to take effect next Tuesday, which is December 14th, and it seems like a change that many might welcome, especially given the recent spotlight on poorly managed zoos and aquariums, like the case of the shockingly skinny lion Parami. So now, looking at the bigger picture, the purpose of zoos and aquariums is hotly debated when it comes to animal rights. So, Jiyeon, I want to first ask you, what are your thoughts on this amendment?
Well, to talk about my personal stories, 2 years ago I visited an inside zoo with my first child. Because they offered a discount on the visitors' birthdays.
And you must go, yeah.
Yeah, and I observed some penguins. I had an eye contact with one of them, and he looked very unhappy, unhealthy, living in that very small place. And before going to the zoo, we actually read a book about animals that it mentioned penguins live in places with cold climate.
Right.
I did not know what to say to my son, because the penguin were living in a very cold environment. You know, the AC was on, but I can't say that it is all because of the people's greed and humans' activities, so that they are living in a totally different environment. So I do believe that this amendment will bring some dramatic and some positive changes, raising awareness of the animal rights, the well-being of the animals in zoos. And in the end, eventually, I do believe that children will learn the ethical enlistments, ethical considerations among animals when they visit zoos.
Right, and it's really important always to educate the future generation, because as we know, they will be the ones who will manage the zoos in the future, and they will be the ones who will be in charge of managing and taking care of animal rights. Now, what are your thoughts on this, Kyun?
I don't quite remember the last time I visited the zoo, because I think it's more of an attraction for children and the parents like Ju-yeon. But you know, in terms of the amendment, I think I'm all for this change and improvement. I'm sure there's always been a lot of controversy to taking care of the caged animals, but it's never been viral. But nowadays, everything can become viral just within days. So I think zoos and aquariums need to act accordingly, because they can be targeted very easily by the public. And I think using animals for commercial and entertainment purposes is hard to avoid completely. So people in charge, like zookeepers and vets and the managers, should be taking extra caution to the welfare of those animals, compensating for how much revenue the animals are actually making for them, because it's kind of like a business, right?
Right, yeah.
And I think it's right to say, finally, treat others the same way you want them to treat you, including animals.
Right, and I think that you made a very realistic and valid point here, because it will be kind of impossible to get rid of all these zoos and aquariums. So if we can, I think that the most responsible thing that these zookeepers and aquarium managers can do is at least guaranteeing a safe living environment that's as similar to as the original habitat.
Definitely.
Right. So as we mentioned, this act will be taking effect from Thursday. So we'll see how it goes. And that was our news feed for this Wednesday. So now we're going to shift gears and head into our main discussion topic of the day. And so today we are going to talk about a topic that will interest singles out there who are looking for love. So a growing trend among our generation is online dating. So for more, here's my AI voice secretary.
It seems like love has changed in the digital age. According to recent findings from a market research company, the number of dating app users around the world is projected to reach 441 million by the end of this year. At the forefront of this digital romance revolution are tech-savvy millennials and Gen Zs, the primary users of these services. We're witnessing a transformation in the dynamics of dating apps and services. In the past, dating apps leaned more towards finding a relationship partner rather than a potential spouse. However, as the online dating market continues to expand, these services are growing similar to traditional matchmaking agencies.
So I recall our news gen discussing online dating a while back, and then we delved into the latest dating styles and trends of millennials and Gen Zs. We explored a lot of concepts, for example, like immanchu, which is a Korean term that refers to intentional efforts to meet a romantic partner, for example, through blind dates or dating apps. So about 6 months has passed since this episode aired in my memories. I wonder whether our generation still remains as avid users of dating applications and services.
Absolutely. This new type of meeting it became more popular from the COVID outbreak, because in-person meeting was almost impossible. And, we being the thumb generation spent more time online and of course on social media. Hence, we're able to indirectly see and converse with people from all over the world, pretty much 24/7, okay, because we're always connected. Dating apps became the new medium to look for your ideal type with its easy accessibility and user-friendly settings. I know some people around me who actually use these dating apps and met others. I don't know how successful they were, but that was their way of meeting new people. I haven't used these apps recently, but I think it's getting better and better day by day. And I think one upside to using dating apps is that many of our generation we have plenty of time to get to know each other online before we're ready to meet offline. And also, you don't need to have a mediator to introduce one another. And of course, it can be very direct, personal, and straight to the point from the get-go. And also, if you fail the first time, you always have a second chance, a third chance, without other people knowing that you failed.
Most important part.
And lastly, and due to the big increase in users, more apps have imposed stricter regulations and verification steps to reduce scams and ensure the safety of all the users.
Right, I think so. So the pros that you mentioned about using online dating apps, which are, for example, no mediator, so you don't have to feel awkward and you have second and third chances, are one of the reasons why our generation is gearing toward becoming enthusiastic users of this application. And so much so that I heard that there is a very new and emerging dating app that's going viral in Korea and other parts of the world, Chian.
There is a unique dating app. It's quite an interesting one. It's the first kind in this country that incorporates a financial verification as part of the sign-up process. So if you want to join the application, if you want to be the member of this application, you've got to submit some certain documents that proves your financial status, occupation, and for women, of course for men, but for women, they've got to submit some certain pictures, certain photos, like selfies of themselves, because according to the app, it says for men, financial status holds more weight, while for women, physical appearance is the most important element for a membership. So this actually resembles the system used by the old, or not the old one, the traditional, the marriage matching agency,
Right.
but has been transformed into an application.
Right. As you mentioned, this new type of dating app resembles the so-called 결혼정보회사 in Korea, which are traditional matchmaking agencies. And I think that, as you mentioned, the fact that for men, economic status and for women, appearance are the most important criteria for joining this app kind of shows that our generation is not that much different from the previous generation, because there has been this saying that's been ongoing here in Korea for decades that for men, it's the economic status that matters, and for women, it's the looks. But I'm sure that there are a lot of differences. What makes our generation stands out. So anything you would like to add, Kyun?
Just, listening to what you guys said about men having economic status, women having the looks, I think I'm more suitable to be a woman because I don't have money. Anyway, okay. All right, back to your question. Human instinct has remained the same and will continue to be until AI fully takes over our lives. And one notable difference from our generation to the older generation is that we have become so much more specific and somewhat picky about our ideal significant others.
Right.
As I mentioned before, growing up in the digital age, millennials and a lot of Gen Zers were exposed to meeting a variety of people online and had easy access to peek at their friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, their friends, and friends and so on. So I think like our standards have just increased so much because we started comparing so much with so much information available online. We started, comparing this person to another person, my girlfriend, my boyfriend to my friend's boyfriend, friend's girlfriend, just on and non-stop. And so I think this led to a new trend called the perfect hexagonal human. It's a new term that I found it very surprising. So let's take a look at the screen for further explanation. According to the book Trend Korea 2024, many youngsters seek their perfect match that fulfill the following 6 categories.
Wow.
Appearance, personality, education, assets, job, and family background. So when I first read the criteria, I laughed at how superficial and close to impossible those expectations were. And statistics supported my opinion that only 0.1% of the population qualify those needs.
Who are them?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Not me.
Okay,
Obviously.
not me too.
Not me neither.
But it's really shocking that there are people that are actually this type of perfect hexagonal human.
Yes.
And I think that this model emerges and arises because, as you mentioned, our generation is facing a surge of information, and also we have this tendency to make comparisons with others, boyfriends, girlfriends, on and on and on. And this is the reason why our generation is having higher standards. So what are your thoughts on this? Anything you would like to add?
Yes, let's go back to our parents' generations. In the past, marriage was a must-do thing.
Right.
If you don't get married, you do have a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me? I don't have any problems yet.
You don't have it. No, but the thing is that I think marriage was actually listed on their bucket list back in the time. So, and speaking of those marriage conditions, whether you are wealthy, we're talking about the height, weight, and whether you are bold or not, your financial status and your educational achievements, they did not actually completely ignore all those conditions.
Right.
They found a middle ground. They compromised it. But however, in this era where people say marriage is not a must-do thing, it's a choice. They say, I won't get married, I won't tie the knot unless I meet this person. I mean, someone who has all the qualifications, all the qualities I desire. So I think this is the main reason that we are, not me, but young people are turning their attention, turning their eyes to the mobile applications, the dating applications, the platforms, to connect with a wider range of possible partners in order to find that person.
Yeah, in order to
who has
find
all the
that perfect one
qualities
for you.
Yes.
Because wider options means there is a higher chance for you to find that one that suits you perfectly.
Indeed.
Now, until now, we talked about our generation in general, but now I want to ask about you guys. So what do you guys, in your quest to find a partner, what matters to you the most?
Looks, appearance. Back in the day. When I was young, I only really thought looks was really the most important part. But nowadays, being in my 30s now, I think personality is really important. How well I can click with the other person, whether we can converse, whether we can have a proper conversation, whether it's a serious one or like a really light-hearted conversations. And there is a saying in Korea, appearance lasts 3 years and personality lasts 30 years.
10 times more.
Yeah, so I think
Wow.
since I have a good personality, I'm ready to get married.
You are.
30 years at least.
You are.
Better than 3 years.
Yes.
Right, and I think that this clicking is really important because I think that this is one of the most important factors that really decide whether you can have a long-lasting relationship with your significant other. And now I want to ask you, I've been waiting to ask you this question, Jian, because you found the love of your life. You're happily married. So I want to ask you, what stood out most about your husband when you decided to marry him?
Well, I'm so shy to talk about my personal stories, but since you ask, let me start. Well, what I liked most about my husband was his kindness, his unwavering support and sense of humor. But if you want me to be honest at this very moment, even though you did not ask, I'll tell you the truth. Well, what initially caught my attention was not only his appearance, but also his background and educational achievements. Because, background and education showed that he was dedicated to growing himself, growing personally, and had some similar values or goals. So as time passed, I realized that those factors, those things like a good sense of humor and other good qualities were the main reasons that I have chosen to tie the knot with this particular man. But every now and then I do find myself thinking about the reasons again and again. Again and again, and sometimes occasionally, or should I say every single moment. Yeah, you guys won't understand.
Well, hopefully we will understand in the near future. Yes, soon. Hope we find the love of our life too. So now we asked this question to both of our panelists, but now what do our viewers think? We also asked our viewers, what's the most important thing for a dating or marriage prospect? And here's what 3 of them had to say. Firstly, Santia says if it's an international couple, having an intermediate level of each other's native language would help so much. That being said, honesty and direct communication of your needs and expectations are key. Giselle says a good marriage prospect has the same core values, similar lifestyle and financial responsibility. Also, they know how to disagree respectfully and communicate maturely. And Elias says, obviously the character is the most important, which is increasingly rare nowadays. So just by looking at these comments, we can see that our generation is looking into a variety of factors when they're finding their significant other. So we're now going to expand our discussion further and include an expert in our talks to find out more about our generation's dating styles and how these set us apart from other generations. We'll be right back, so stay tuned. So today we're joined by Chison Beck, a social researcher at the University of St. Andrews. So welcome, Chison, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for joining. So first off, what factors do you think have contributed to the global expansion of the online dating app market?
First things first, I think we all can agree that finding love is tough. Our parents or even our grandparents might have experienced different kind of drama just to find the right partner. Yeah. Yet, it's possible that they still didn't find one. So finding love has even become tougher these days. Our needs now have diversified, and some people might have their beautiful checklist, and others might be just looking for someone who loves pet. Additionally, there are more women in the labor market and higher education system than ever before, which makes the half of the population adopting different lifestyles, therefore different ways of dating as well. So dating apps accommodate our various needs in finding the right partner in a super efficient way.
Chison, what do you think are the biggest differences in the views on dating and marriage between millennials, Gen Zs, and older generations?
I think it's is very interesting question. Let's begin with the older generation. So for them, especially in Korean society, marriage was considered mandatory. Marrying before a certain age was the expected path. And of course, the online dating culture must be bizarre for them. On the other hand, Gen Zs prioritize individuality with the social standard, either not really bothering them or being more diverse. For them, technology, especially dating apps and social media, is a significant factor in shaping how they meet and connect. Lastly, millennials, assumed to be people like us, are the bridge between the two generations. They might understand the perspectives of the older generation, and they would be also sharing similar values with Gen Zs. They might use dating apps, but they might hide it as well. So they're the tricky ones.
Interesting. So, Chison, what do you think are the pros and cons of the evolving dating and marriage trends observed among the millennials and Gen Zs?
On the positive side, there's a bigger focus on individual choice, letting people explore diverse relationships and lifestyles. Young people also tend to delay their marriage, which allows them more time for personal growth and career development. On the other hand, the negative perspective can be focused on dating apps. You know, these dating apps often turn us into product on display. It's so easy to lose sight of who we really are and just concentrate on how we want to present ourselves. So the lack of meaningful and face-to-face connections also makes us view people on dating apps as product. I think understanding these dynamics is crucial as we navigate the consistently evolving dating scene.
All right, thank you so much, Chison, for your valuable insights.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so we're running out of time, but last but not least, do you guys have any tips that you would like to share in our quest to find that one perfect true love?
I'm not quite sure if the term one perfect true love really exists, but for me, instead of thinking of it as like searching for the right person, perhaps it should be like choosing a companion you would like to share your life experiences together through the good and bad times until the day you die. Amen.
Wow, that was like a marriage officiant. Now, what about you, Gia?
Well, my advice would be confident, just be yourself and focus on relationships with someone that you can really share your values and goals. And also don't hesitate to using those dating mobile applications. You know, you might meet your significant other, but take time to build up the deep relationship, the true relationship. And lastly, why don't you trust your instincts? You know the drill. You know the drill, don't you? Don't you?
Not yet, but we will get there, just like Chuyeon.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, but we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Park Ki-hoon
Always a pleasure.
and Kwon Ji-hyun.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.